What is up, Steeler Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Hangover. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me is Shannon White on this victory hangover. How you doing, my man? How you feeling after the big win?
I'm always happy when they win, and I'm doing great. Still got concerns, but a win's a win's a win.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Pittsburgh Steelers go into Vegas, or did they? Kind of look like Heinz Field from the stands. Heinz, I mean Acrisure. Jeez, I haven't done that.
It'll always be Heinz Field to me.
Well, that looked like Heinz. Memories of Heinz.
Yes.
There in Vegas. A lot of Steeler fans, more yellow towels than anything I saw out there. The Steelers ended up taking the win 32-13. And again, that I thought that the defense was just absolutely amazing. They came back, they showed up, and I liked what I saw there. Offensively, there's some issues. And one thing that might become an issue is starting center. Zach Frazier goes down middle of the game. It looks to be a high ankle sprain. No structural damage, but he's going to be week to week. How huge of a loss is this one?
No, this is big. I mean, he has solidified the center of the line, and he's really working great with Samalu, which he's only played a little bit with him. But I don't know if you're paying attention, but the last 2 weeks, him and McCormick has really developed a rapport. And I was really excited to see him and McCormick both excelling and having great, chemistry together. So, I mean, it sounds like it's week to week. We know how tough Frazier is. He wanted to come back in the game. That's so true. I think you got to protect him from yourself. I'd try to set him a week because we know how the high ankle sprains can be. But hopefully the following week, he can come back and then he will have a bye week to recover more. But he's a contender for Rookie of the Year, definitely the all-rookie team. And he is a very important piece of that puzzle.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think he's I think he was ranked in the top 3 centers of the league right now with, I think it was Linderbaum and one other center I can't think of at the top of my head. The left-handed guy in Kansas City.
Oh, you mean Humphreys?
Yes.
Yes.
So he's in that.
Yeah.
He is in that class when it comes to what he's been able to do this year. And, when I saw him go down, I was a lot bit concerned.
Yeah.
He got up and then kind of fell down weird, not to get on it. And so a part of me thought, maybe it's a cramp. Please be a cramp. And then they showed the video afterwards, and it obviously was going to be something more serious. But when I saw him walking to the back and looking determined, and then the reports came back that he wanted to be back in the game, I don't have any worries. I know he was seen in a walking boot after the game. The Steelers don't play for another 7 days. I believe they're Monday night. Is that correct?
Sunday night, I think.
Sunday night. Okay. Yeah. Well, either way, they're going to play a night game.
Yes.
Right. And, I think I would really hope he gets back. I really do. I think he's a huge component for this team. I think that the offense gets blitzed, especially up the middle, quite a bit as it is already. So him being out of the lineup, I can only imagine opposing defenses scheming up even more pressure through the middle. His replacement, though, didn't do too bad. The running game continued in the same fashion. So, maybe there's some, maybe it's not a huge fall off behind Zach Frazier. But I thought they did okay. Najee ran the ball for quite a bit. I mean, I think this was, I couldn't be more happier for Najee in this game. He rushes for 14 carries for 106 yards, 7.6 yards average, 1 touchdown for 36 yards. I thought this was the perfect game for him to get right. What were your thoughts on Najee Harris?
Yeah. One good thing, the Steelers have been playing teams that have been weakened on offense and defense with injuries, just as they've been. The Steeler team we're seeing right now is not the Steeler team that we hope to see because they have so many guys out. So that's actually helped playing other teams that are dealing with some massive injuries. The Raiders were missing Christian Wilkerson. or Wilkins, I should say. He's their big defensive tackle they got from Miami in free agency, and that really helped the running game. But the line was blocking very well. But if you noticed, Harris was not hesitant. He was just hitting the hole or running into the back of his own guys, and they were pushing the pile. It wasn't that stop, slow down, try to look for these. When he did make that one really beautiful move in the hole, he was already past the line of scrimmage. That's when you make that move, and he didn't. He about put that boy on his butt. So that was his best game in a long time. And I really liked that it was full speed ahead, pedal to the metal, and that's because he can get you 3 or 4 yards just by running over people and dragging guys. But what you can't have is going sideways, stuff of that nature. So I thought that he played much, much better. I liked the intensity and the aggressiveness. And it was good because, we were all big questioning. I know I have, is he a good fit for this system? Well, we've seen they tried to bring Warren back, and Warren tried, but Warren has tried. He don't have that same burst right now. He's still, like when Ward did get an opportunity, Jonathan Ward looked better than Warren did. Because, one, he's healthy. So, hopefully Warren didn't make anything worse, and he'll be able to play better as, maybe this week. Can't hear you.
Oh, man. Rookie mistake. I think so, too. I think that Jalen did look a little bit slow out there, just missing a little bit of that burst. It's, but obviously it's injury related, and I think he'll get back to being 100% sooner than later. Sean Manahan comes in with a super chat, $5. Thank you so much for your support. Najee, like Franco before him, loves playing the Raiders. Laugh out loud. I agree. He has had quite a bit of games against the Raiders. Najee has, he wakes up for this game, and and that's what I thought about this game as well. Like, he came out there with like a determination, and that he was going to move the ball, and he was going to be hard to tackle, and those were the things I like to see. You're right about that one hole where he broke that dude's ankles.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. But he also did some things through the air as well. He caught a few balls, and I think he was looking like a good running back. This is what we've been wanting from him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll continue, but the offense, rushing wise, second in rushing was quarterback Justin Fields. I thought he did quite a few things that were good with his legs. Obviously, wasn't really thrilled with a lot of the passes that he was making.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some angles from the back that were shown a couple of times where he rushed, where it did appear that there were some people open down the field. I know that the Steelers win 32-13. Russ is healthy. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, watching it back, I have 5 opportunities missed. And when I say 5 opportunities missed, a lot of times people they watch the all 22 and they're like, okay, we had this in this closer first level, he threw to this guy, but he had somebody on the second level deeper open. But see, in action and all that can happen, especially when you have the coaches say protect the ball, be safe, take the safer throw. This game it was different. In the first half alone, he missed 3 wide open throws where he just overthrew the ball. It just sailed on him. To where if he would have brought that ball down, they would have been some big completions in there. Now that's on him. That's an accuracy issue. And of course, we had another drop by a certain player. I don't want to harp on it again, but a potential touchdown. It's becoming a trend and a habit, a bad habit. But no, he did this to me. Fields, that was his worst game yet throwing the ball. because you can't miss 5 throws where you have guys open and it just comes down that you missed them. The one interception, thank God, there was a penalty because the guy sacked him, hit him after the throw and put all his weight on him, because that would have been a turnover in the red zone. It wasn't a clean game throwing the ball by Fields in any way. At one point, I told people in the game, I said, he's playing himself out of this position, because people's gonna be like, well, what can Wilson do? But then we see the value of Fields. If that's Wilson back there, he would have been sacked 4, 5, 6 times. But Fields was able to run away from the pressure. There was a couple of just blown assignments, totally blown assignments, and he got out of there and made something out of it, positive. Something that Wilson can't do right now. And with the offensive line still in flux, especially if Frazier's out, I'm afraid that's going to let pressure up the middle. And we know Wilson don't like that because he's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And he don't move like he used to. So you can't have pressure at his feet or up the middle. They're talking Spencer Anderson can play center. McCormick practiced up, but he's doing good at guard, and he's your starting guard now, so he's out of the equation. So it's really McCollum, and if he fails, then you got Anderson. So we need to get Frazier back sooner rather than later. But I think it was really close that we could have seen Wilson. But finally, Fields got his act together and was running the ball good. And I think he held on to this for another week at least. But I need to see him clean that up, because that's the first time I've been concerned. And that I don't know if it's mechanics or he sped up his motion or what's going on. But sometimes, like the one screen he tried to throw to Warren, and it actually went backwards.
Oh, that was horrible.
And thankfully, Warren was able to get on it. He threw it way too hard. I mean, Warren's 5 yards away from him, and he's throwing him a fastball. That's where, we need Fields to calm down a little bit, slow his clock, and have a little touch right there. Because, he was throwing too hard, which led to high throws or, get like that one to Warren. So I'm not ready to give up on him yet, but he does have to improve over this week.
So for me, I agree with you. I think that if put in the same situations with the pressure, that Justin Fields has the ability to get out of it with his legs much better and easier than what Russ would do. But my question is, would the pressure be as dominant? When it comes to Justin Fields, it's not just this season, but over his career, he's been one of the highest blitzed quarterbacks for good reason. He's struggled with the blitz, and he's made some turnovers. He's had fumbles. I mean, his resume follows him from Chicago. Mm-hmm. And so teams blitz him more often. If Russ can, take, do his part, I think he's seen a lot of this, and throughout his career. So I feel that if he can make the defenses pay a little bit more with his arm, mm-hmm. and can be that threat with the arm, I think we're going to see a lot less blitzes. The offensive line does need to do what they need to do. Did you see that play with Broderick Jones?
Yes.
That's been circling around. What in the world was that? I don't understand what he was doing there.
Well, I tell you something you said there that I think we have to really take into consideration. They are not giving Fields the opportunity to audible. If he comes to the line of scrimmage and it looks like a disastrous play, they're running it anyway. On the one blitz, or Diablo come around, nobody was there to pick him up. It was obvious what was coming. And Fields tried to snap the ball, and then he was going to try to make a move at, against a very athletic linebacker, and it just didn't work. And they're missing some blocking assignments because I think that Fields needs to have that opportunity to check out. Okay, he can do an RPO, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes neither one's going to work against max pressure like that. I think they would trust Wilson to make an audible there.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be a big one of the things this offense really needs. If Wilson can check out of a bad play and get them into a good play, they might be more, as you say, more successful. and therefore teams would leave them, would pull back, be
Mhm.
scared of what's going to happen if they sell out, obviously, like they've been doing. So, I'm like you. I'm. It's interesting because I don't know the answer to that. But you have to make a pay. The only way you make teams stop doing that is you got to make a pay.
That's true, 100%. And it just hasn't happened. And as the games have progressed, it just seems here recently for Justin Fields, when that comes to his accuracy, it's also been kind of up and down, a lot more up and down than it was in the early on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Manahan comes in with $5 saying, Coach Boone, and remember the Titans, you can throw the ball a mile, but can't pitch it 3 feet. Justin Fields. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to do both things, right? But more so, like, I believe what you're saying is true. They don't allow Justin Fields to make audibles. It also appears to me when I'm watching the plays that are being called, it's either Arthur Smith is a lousy play caller, or this is plays that are designed for a backup quarterback. And then during the game, I actually told my family at the end, I was like, hey, it appears that the Steelers are putting in their backups. I think this would be an opportunity if Russ was like, if Russ were to come in. I think that means that Justin probably would stay the starting quarterback, but he didn't. He stayed out there with the backups throughout the entire game. So to me, just because of how limited these play calls have been, the way it feels like they're cutting the play in half the field, for him.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't all examples or evidence, in my opinion, of an offensive coordinator or head coach confident in his throwing abilities. I mean, how many times have they ran it on 3rd and long? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so I
To
think this
me,
even happened in this game where they did a very conservative pass or run on 3rd down. Like the first couple drives, the ball wasn't going past 5 yards down the field. I think majority of it was in the backfield. So, I don't see the confidence in the decision makers. I honestly think that if Russ is healthy, he may end up being the guy this week.
when we've went through, let's say, the last 4 offensive coordinators, even though at the end of Ben's career, I considered him the offensive coordinator, but we've seen a trend, a familiar trend, that Tomlin is the one that's in control of these offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Arthur Smith was the perfect guy that Tomlin wanted because they think similarly. They've went after the 3-0 start, the last 3 games now, they went really conservative on offense and defense. Now, a lot of this I understand there's injuries. And when you don't have your alphas out there, your top guys, you're going to be a little more conservative a lot of times. They didn't want to sell out to try to generate a pass rush. And it was after they blocked up Watt until Hayward got involved there later in the game, they didn't get the pressure they normally get with the backup guys. And it's affecting Benton because they got him playing out of position at nose tackle. Mm-hmm. But I think on offense, I don't want to say that he's a bad play caller because I am seeing routes in the middle of the field, things we didn't see under Canada. But it's timing. Like the flea flicker double reverse, there was no need for that right there. They're not that advanced. The Detroit Lions did it last night, almost the same play for a touchdown. This Steeler offense is not as efficient, as talented, and as well coached as that Detroit team. So when the Steelers tried, they just let a guy come wide open, and because he just went straight for Fields. Because everybody, I'm going to take him out of the equation regardless. Because that's what every team's doing. They're attacking Fields. And there was another time they got to on the other side of the 50, and they got like 7 yards on a first down run by Harris. And I'm like, okay, this is when you call something, play action, you try to hit a seam, because you got Washington, you got Freiermuth, you got these tight ends there. or you let Harris leak right through the line and hit him with the pass because he'd done it a couple of times. I said, this is the perfect time to do it. And instead, they did some kind of rolling Fields to the left, and he ended up getting, I don't remember I think he got sacked. But anyway, they lost yardage, and it was 3rd and long, and then they didn't make it and had to punt. I mean, that was an opportunity. They was almost at field goal range. And they actually played themselves out of field goal range, just like they did on the reverse flea flicker or whatever thing. So I just think that they're struggling in a lot of ways. Injuries is part of it, but I think they don't have a feel yet. The timing of these play calls make no sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you as far as the timing, especially on these, 3rd down plays. I think I do remember the first 3rd down play. I had in that drive, the Steelers were driving down the field. They got a field goal on it, utilizing the running game and short passes. And I remember telling my family, I texted them, I was like, I bet you they throw way before the sticks, because it was like 3rd and a good amount, and they did. They threw it. I think it was like 3rd and 12. I think he threw it about 7 yards, and I was just like, even if he caught it, and it was to George Pickens, who we'll talk more about here in a minute. Even if he would have caught it, was not enough for the first down. And I'm just like, where are the plays and the throws that are going to give you the opportunity to get a first down? And that also brings up the other point I have when it comes to Justin Fields. There's no yak, on the wide receivers. They're not getting the yards after the catch. And I think, one of the ones that was there was the one to Calvin Austin. But even that play where he was streaking across the middle there, or in the post, Fields sat him in the hole there. He was running across and he threw it, and he had to stop to catch it and then go ahead and go. So those are things that are concerning to me. But yeah, we'll talk more about it when we get here after the break. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few seconds. All righty, y'all. We're back. Thank you for sticking with us. Before we get back into the conversation, I want to remind you guys of our website, stillcurtainnetwork.com, your one-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers news and coverage. Go check it out. Get all the up-to-date news on your Pittsburgh Steelers team. And while you're there, you can go check out the podcast. And you'll find mine, which is audio only. Doesn't come out here on YouTube for those that are watching on YouTube. It's audio only. It's on every podcast. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, just look for Still Curtain Network. And mine airs out on Saturdays at noon. Or 11, I apologize. So Saturdays at 11 a.m. It's called State of the Steelers. Go check out mine. I was right. I predicted the Steelers would win, but I was pretty wrong as far as how many points were scored and how and what was going to happen, and in a good way, obviously.
Yes.
But back to the conversation here. George Pickens and the throws that weren't going that far. So first and foremost, the throw didn't make it to the first down. And that was just so disappointing. And that's when I was like, man, I just don't know about these plays being called. And when it comes to those plays, the only hope that I could possibly have, because the alternative would be thinking that the guy's not that great, is that they think they're using their second string quarterback and they're playing as if they're playing with their second string quarterback, which is a little bit more not to lose instead of playing to win. I know they had a situation later on where I think they went for it on 4th down. I think it was ended up scoring a touchdown. And Tomlin comes out saying that was a play to win, not play not to lose situation. But when it comes to 3rd downs and things like that, that's just how I felt. What do you think?
Yeah, he likes to say that, but I watch all the man coverage by all the other teams. I try to watch every game I can catch, and you're having some really superstar wide receivers, and they're being matched up one-on-one without safety help often. And these teams are trusting their corners. Steelers don't do that. They do not. I mean, they are so risk adverse, and they are not blitzing very little, and ineffective when they do. Again, risk adverse. the offensive the strategy is as you say, there's no yak yards because everything's keep it simple, stupid. Go out so far, turn it just like last year, and just like the year before. I mean, we're seeing a lot. The difference is this year's you have the explosive element of Fields' legs that he has saved them in a lot of instances. But if it hadn't been for some really questionable calls in the second half that went in the Steelers' favor, that game could have been quite different. Now, I already said it could have been quite different if Fields would have hit the passes that he missed where guys were open. But also, it could have been different without a little bit of questionable calls. And what's concerning me, Daniel, is I'm going to throw this out here now, is you watch Dallas, and they come in banged up, injured, hurt. They come into Pittsburgh on Sunday night and beat the Steelers in an embarrassing loss on Sunday Night Football. They turn around the next week and they play a Detroit team that is well coached and a true contender. And they get spanked. I mean, spanked. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing for all Cowboy fans. Now, if you watch, this team is set up, the NFL set up for parity, but we have your top teams, and then you have a lot of equal mediocre teams, and then a few bad teams. The Steelers can beat most of the mediocre to bad teams with this really conservative offensive and defensive concepts. But you're not going to beat the big boys doing this. Not regularly, not consistently, especially not playoff time. So it's just that cycle again. They're right back in that cycle. And I think that some people within the organization is very happy with that style and with where they are because they can keep saying we're not having a losing season. But when I'm watching the better teams, a lot of these better teams, I mean, Baltimore was 0-2. Now they were close games and everything, but they didn't take the foot off the gas. If anything, they pushed down more. They're accelerating and playing even more aggressive because you're either going to win or you're going to lose. But being stuck in the middle don't get you anything. And I just don't know if the risk-averse nature of this Steeler coaching staff at the moment is ever going to be effective.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on basically everything you were saying there. Defensively, you're right. It's very not so much risk involved. Offensively, it's been risk avoidance for the last few years, as you mentioned. I mean, the middle of the field has been a targetless place for a while.
At least they are throwing there this year.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, it took a few games to get there. I think it was like the third game they started looking at it. But many of us thought that they were just avoiding it because they were terrified of the safeties or whatever the case may be. I think when we look at the quarterbacks that they've had since Ben Roethlisberger's retirement, I mean, I wouldn't have trusted them either. And so I'm hoping that the trust factor with Russ is there, so that way they would open it up if it ends up being Russ going out there. And if not, I mean, I'm rooting for Justin to do well. And every single time, I'm not rooting for him to lose or anything like that. He's going to have to learn to get better with throwing the ball. He's going to have to figure that out. He's going to have to read defenses a little bit better. And I'm not sure if it's not so much that he's not seeing it. I mean, I think there's that question. I think versus Dallas, there was a one play that everybody was putting out there where he ended up throwing it up to Van Jefferson that was almost intercepted. On the other side, he had two receivers open. Where he should have been looking at. I know some quarterbacks broke down that play and they said that this is where it was supposed to be. Those things, those kind of decisions, to be honest with you, after that interception that was called back, based on how he was playing up to that point, based on the accuracy or the lack thereof, and the inability to push the ball down the field, I honestly thought we were going to see Russ in the second half.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I was like, man, I think it's time. And, fortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers put the offense in some favorable positions with some turnovers and a blocked punt. And in my opinion, I thought that's where the game was won at. Obviously, the Steelers were able to punch it in, and they needed to do so.
Mhm.
But I thought the game was won on the defense and special teams in this game.
Well, Daniel,
Um,
you're a parent,
mhm.
as am I, and with your children, if you want them to be successful, but you're always telling them, well, don't take any risk or don't take any chances. Don't ever believe in yourself. Just play it safe. And just, are they going to ever achieve greatness or any, you want to say, hey, go for your dreams. I'm always here for you. I mean, you want to instill confidence. Well, if you got a quarterback and you're always telling him, don't take no chances, don't try to, don't do, I mean, you're the natural instincts and development is hindered, and we've seen it. Tomlin has never had to develop a quarterback at all. He inherited a Hall of Fame guy, and since then he's not done a good job developing anybody else. And that's why we need quarterback coaches and all that. And it's early in the process, and and I'm willing to try to get everybody back healthy and everything like that. But I'm just saying that this mindset, I think a lot of times he doesn't see things because he doesn't feel like he has the freedom. If you don't have the freedom to audible, if you don't have the uh, freedom to take chances. The other day I got to watch Green Bay and Jordan Love, and he lit up the Cardinals, and it was like watching young Ben. I mean, he's just slinging it all over the yard. Now there was a couple of them that should have been intercepted. There was one that was, but he had 4 touchdowns too. Baker Mayfield, I think, had 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. 2 of them were deflated. But you know what I'm saying? But they won those games because that's the way it is now. It's just you have to. I just don't see how you're going to be able to be competitive when you're totally over relying on defense and all the rules are set up for offense.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, what the Steelers were able to do in Vegas defensively was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it sure was. But is that something that when we expect every week? Are we going to expect two possessions within the 30-yard line for the offense going into the end zone? I'm not sure that's realistic to expect those type of things to happen game in, game out. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, they do those things. TJ Watt had 2 more forced fumbles on some punch outs, which I mean, that was amazing. Not to do it just once, but twice. And we'll address this question here. Sean Manahan says, I predict that when we get Cam Sutton off suspension, we go into more man coverage. His thoughts. I think that when Cam Sutton comes off of suspension, I think that the Steelers defense secondary is probably going to be trying to disguise things a little bit more. I think with the rookie out there learning on the job, they probably do have some limitations as far as what they can disguise themselves to do. What do you think?
Well, one thing about it, Sutton is one of the smartest players. Tomlin's give him credit for his versatility and his intelligence. He is not the athlete he once was. Last year when Detroit tried to match him up in a lot of man, but he was on the outside, and he got torched a good bit, and so there was some problems there. I think he'll be more effective playing slot, playing some safety, deep field, center field safety, like he did his last year in Pittsburgh. And I think they'll continue to use Beanie similar. Beanie had a good bounce back game. I mean, now we got to remember it was O'Connell at quarterback. It was a bunch of journeyman receivers that the Steelers defense did this to. But Beanie was in position. He tackled well. He done the things that we know he can do. And so he didn't have the situation where he got focused on and picked on. But he'll learn from that. But I do believe Sutton will help them with their versatility and disguising what they want to do. And, because they didn't even have Kazee Sunday. So at one point, you had Terrell Edmonds replacing Fitzpatrick. Now, Terrell Edmonds replacing Elliott's one thing, but you don't want him at free safety.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't targeted more.
Yes.
B. Bishop had an impressive play where he tackled Brock Bowers, a guy that was very difficult to get on the ground from other guys, and and he hogtied him to the ground in the backfield. It was pretty impressive. And I agree with you. I think that especially where some of these safeties might be a little bit hindered or maybe have some bumps and bruises. KZ was out. Minka took a couple of plays off there with his injury, which I was kind of concerned about. When he went down and he grabbed towards the shoulder, I thought he was grabbing a pec. I was like, no.
Did they ever say what it was?
It just said shoulder.
That's I didn't hear anything. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. So it was just the shoulder, and so fortunately he was able to make it back onto the field and be an effective player. The defense did well. Offensively, there was some more concerns. Outside of Justin Fields, George Pickens. Do you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers admitted they have a problem with him by trying to get him points in junk time?
Well, they tried to get him points. Yep, they did. And I mean, I was stunned. I mean, he could have had 3 touchdowns this year and he's dropped them. Not even counting the plays that were called back because of penalties and stuff of that nature. But I don't know if it's just tried too hard. I think there at one point we said that about Deontay Johnson. It was he hadn't scored a touchdown in forever, and then he was trying too hard to score a touchdown. So once it finally happened, then he was able to calm down. So hopefully that'll happen with Pickens. I didn't see as much of a distraction this week. Of course, they were winning pretty handily there, especially late in the game. So it wasn't going to be the obvious, as obvious, because anytime they're losing or it's close and all, and then somebody has a tantrum or pouting, they like to focus the cameras on them and everything like that. I had somebody say this week that I've called attention to things and his immaturity and his character issues. And they said, but he's only 22 or 23. Well, what if he's 28, 29 and it's still happening? Because, how many receivers have the Steelers had that it didn't improve with age? If anything, it got worse. As they become stars, then they felt like they had more say, more power, more, and then it just got totally out of hand and you're left holding the bag. So it's concerning. I don't know. I think that everybody knows, anybody with eyes realizes there's a problem. Now, what's the solution? I can't say.
Well, Tomlin's solution this weekend was something that I've never seen before. I've never seen Mike Tomlin try to put up score when the game was decided.
Yep, and they did.
You know what I mean? And so that I've never seen that. Even if they've been at the 1 yard line with an ability to get into the end zone and kneel it down or do what they need to do, I've never seen that before. And so this weekend when that happened, I'm gonna say that told me that, hey, there's a problem, and the problem is big enough that even though they are winning and the game is decided, he wants the ball and he wants his points. And it's about him versus the game being won. And I think that's a problem. I think that, the drops that he has had are an issue, and they're becoming more of an issue. I think he's so frustrated with the lack of attention or the lack of targets that when he does get the opportunities, he's not doing the best. I think he's overthinking things. And so maybe you're right. Maybe the Steelers are like, hey, in efforts to, get this guy's head right, let's run up the score. But I don't know. That was weird. That was weird for me. And, the questions are going to come in. Do the Steelers go after Devontae Adams after this performance from the Steelers passing game? What are your thoughts on the Steelers? Perhaps now that this game is over, a trade could happen at any moment.
Well, I heard today, I think it was Scheffler said that the Raiders want a second and they don't want to pick up any of that contract. They don't want to eat anything. And that no team's interested right now.
Mm.
So you would think, I've heard people talk about trying to trade Pickens, to get, uh, Adams, but are you really? I mean, I keep going back to the fact that I don't like how Adams has handled the situation in Las Vegas either.
Mm-hmm.
You might be trading an inexpensive young headache for a really expensive older headache. It's tough, Daniel. It really is. Trying to get these guys, these receivers, uber talented, athletic guys, but for some reason, man, these guys, I don't know if it's. I think it starts early in school that they tell them they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and now with the NIL deals and everything else, But I mean, I'm telling you, some of these young guys that are really putting up numbers already, these rookies, are coming in and act more mature than Pickett's his third year in the league. I think some of these guys just are head cases, and I think the Steelers might have one. So I don't know if where the Steelers are right now and where they're going to be able to go this year, if it's worth what they would have to give up to get Adams in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And when it comes to Devontae Adams, though, I think everybody, I don't think he's faking the hamstring injury. And his coach called him out for making a business decision and then liked a post saying that was Devontae Adams' last snap as a Raider. And then he even made the comment that if he made a business decision, they have to make one themselves. And I think that's what fractured the relationship there, which, I mean, maybe there's some more stuff behind the scenes, backstage, maybe there's some more arguments, but that seems kind of off on the head coach's part as to why this ended up going down the way it did. But as far as George Pickens go, yeah, I think there's probably a reason why he dropped out of the first round.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
A lot of people were thinking it was the ACL tear that he had, but a lot of folks are saying also that there was a off the field attitude type of issue.
Yep.
And I think that's been something that is noticeable. I hope he gets it right. I think that the way the Steelers are throwing the ball right now, adding another receiver or threat, I think that'll probably even limit George Pickens' targets, unless maybe perhaps defenses start rolling out towards Devontae Adams, and that frees him up a little bit more. But it's going to be tough. I think that the Steelers could make a move. Brian Brown brings up a question or a thought there saying, what's wrong with Wilson, Roman Wilson, that is? Why draft him and not going to use him? Did the Steelers miss that bad? He was in there for 5 snaps. I think all of them were blocking or clear out plays if there were a passing play. This isn't the first time that the Pittsburgh Steelers roll out a receiver. Very slow. And especially given the fact that he missed majority of or all of the preseason, most of the training camp, and wasn't ready to go until here recently. I think that they're gonna work him in slower, but that doesn't really show a lot of confidence either, going this slow with some of the receivers that they've put out there and actually thrown the ball to. There was another guy, not number 15, I want to say 18 maybe, who got a pass thrown to him last week.
Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Out of Denver. He played with Wilson in Denver. He was off the practice squad. He came up, he got some action. Yeah.
Yeah, he got the pass thrown to him. So I don't know. Do you think there's something to be concerned about when it comes to Roman Wilson?
Well, I've said it before. I think it's player development and player usage. Again, the whole thing, they got to earn it. And so you got Zach Frazier come in, All-American, best-looking young center the Steelers have had since Pouncey. And we're going to have him sit behind Nate Herbig all through camp, run with the second string at camp, and in the preseason until Herbig got hurt and they had to play him. That was ridiculous. the way they keep throwing Dan Moore's rear end out there. I mean, he had one play Sunday where he got burned to the inside immediately and forced Fields to his left. It looked like Kenny Pickett. And then, but at least he can run. But but what I'm saying is Dan Moore, he'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's just what he is, his limitations. But you got Broderick Jones, you had Fuatanu. We don't now, but that's who should have been playing. The smart teams realize we need these rookies. The other night, Kansas City won the game, and they played 5 rookies that make big plays in the second half. 5. The Steelers, they'd still be saying, well, they got to earn it. They got to earn that spot. I mean, this old school, slow roll mentality on how they handle their young guys and these rookies just doesn't fit with the modern NFL. Again, I keep going back to the ultra conservative, this ancient and antique mindset. It just needs to change. I don't know how they're going to make it change, but it has to because it just doesn't fit. But Roman Wilson is going to be a player, I believe. But I tell you what I'm more concerned with, Daniel. We know that Devontae Adams, he has a Taco Bell in his house. Now, I think we've all seen the commercials. Now, that, right there in his house. Now, I'm afraid that George Pickens is going to see this. And then George Pickens is going to be, I need a Permane Brothers in my house. And then there's going to be a holdout, or he's going to pout because he don't have a Permane Brothers in his house. So the stuff for the Steelers to think about.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, that's funny. It's crazy. And, for those that think, hey, man, the Steelers won 32-13, y'all are a little bit negative. It's not so much that we're a little bit negative as much as, all right, we realize how this team won and why this team won.
Yes.
And we saw a lot of bit of what was being done the weeks before where the Steelers lost to the Cowboys in a very, very embarrassing loss.
Oh,
and yeah, I mean, I thought that, Fields had a decent half there, or a good half in the Colts game in the second half to try to bring them back. But, I thought that he early on was missing. And then last week he was missing quite a bit. This week, the accuracy wasn't there. So there's a little bit of a concern. And I just think that, how this offense is being ran. I mean, the plays that are being run on third down sometimes are questionable. The way that they're treating the quarterback position as if they don't trust him it's like, to me, I'd rather find out now. Russell Wilson's healthy.
Yeah.
Let him throw the ball. Let him push it down the field. If he throws 3-4 interceptions, like, all right, we found out. Yeah, and let's bring in the other guy and let's knock it out instead of, protecting him to the point where when you do need these things, if he doesn't pan out, then you just set back Russ quite a long time too. So it'll be a big question that we answer tomorrow during the press conference. I'm looking forward to what Mike Tomlin has to say about the quarterback position. If you had to take a prediction before we call it a show, do you think he says who's going to be the starting quarterback? And if so, who do you think it is?
I think he's not really give either guy a great vote of confidence, or say this is the guy. So I think it'll be more of the same. Still trying to get Wilson back up to speed, and it'll be Fields again, is my bet that Fields was going to play again a start. But I think his leash is getting shorter. I think that if he'd have started really slow in that second half Sunday, I think that we might have seen Wilson Sunday. Mm-hmm. So now in this game, I think the leash is probably one more link's gone.
Yeah. I think he's not going to answer the question. I don't think he's going to give a fair answer that's going to be like, he's going to Tomlinism his way out of it. And I think at the end of the week, if he does that, I think it's going to be Russ's job come Sunday. I think they're going to roll him out. I think he'll end up saying something to the effect like, hey, He was always QB1. The depth chart never changed. He was injured.
Yeah, yeah, that
Now
can
he's
happen.
not. Now he's not injured, so we're going to put him back in. We're not benching Justin Fields. It's just that he was the starter already, and he's going into taking his spot. And Fields is ready to go. We're how would he say it? We're appreciative of his efforts. I'm pretty sure something he would say.
He'd say
And
something like, if I told you how we made the summer sausage, you won't eat the summer sausage. I mean, it'll be something like that. And then we'll all be going, what do you mean?
exactly. And so I think come Sunday, when the Steelers take on the Jets, I believe, I'm looking forward to it. I think the Steelers are going to end up. I think we're going to see Russ for the first time, but we'll see. We'll find out more information tomorrow. So make sure you guys are locked and loaded with that like and subscribe and notification bell rung, because we do breaking news podcast here on Steel Curtain Network. And tomorrow, the Scobros will have their show, and I'm sure they'll be talking quite a bit about how that press conference went down. Shannon, yeah, there you go. Shannon, do you have any final words for everybody?
No, it's, with all the uncertainty and the injuries and the trying to figure out what team this really is, because the identity's not been established. We kind of have an idea about the defense, but again, so many injuries, and at least they're 4-2. So, just, keep the faith, and we'll see how things pan out. If there is a switch at quarterback, or if some new talents brought in from outside the organization, you try to catch that lightning in the bottle. I mean, look at the Brownies last year, put Flacco in. I thought that was hilarious. And then he led them to the playoffs. So, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. But and definitely check us out on Wednesday at 8:00 on Pump Your Brakes. And I'm sure we'll have our predictions for sure.
There you go. There you go. And also check out State of the Steelers airing Saturday at 11 a.m. No, I agree with you. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's never a season without drama. One way or another, it's drama filled. It should be a soap opera for men, I guess.
Yes.
But take us out, Shannon.